What's going on, guys? Art Dude Saz here. You can just call me Saz. I hope everyone is having a fantastic day. Today, I have a sort of art tutorial for you. Not really, kind of an art tutorial, and that is how to draw a face from the front view and how I tackle that topic. So we have Gage from Borderlands 2. We have one of her head skins. And I just want to go through and do like a step-by-step process similar to my self-critique series, where I go through and I kind of point out what went wrong, what went right. But with this one, I want to point out what I'm prioritizing and what I look for when drawing a head from the front view. Okay, so first off, I use boxes. Okay, I know Sam does not like boxes. He has a feud with boxes. I love boxes. I do boxes for everything, regardless of perspective or whatever, right? So that's a little bit funny that he has a feud with boxes, but the head, generally a boxy shape, an egg side of a box. And then what I do here is I do the 3 equal lines. I do the eyebrow, I do the nose, and then that would make 3 parts, 1, 2, 3. So you'll see right here. I showcase it in white. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. And sometimes these parts aren't equal depending on how high the arch brow is, where the ears are, how low the nose is. Typically it's 3 equal parts, but realistically everyone has different proportions, so it's not going to be 3 equal parts on every face. And what I do here is I show that it's not an equal distance. Well, this is me just guesstimating since Gage has a hat on. I can't really know where the hairline is, so I kind of just guesstimate where the hairline is. It's probably more so like down here, but as long as it looks kind of okay, you can get away with guesstimating, right? And now we're going to talk about the relationship of the facial features. All of the features on a face have some relationship to each other. So the eyes are always going to be inside, right? Since your eyeballs are hollow, right? There's a hollow socket and your eyeballs fit into it. And since your eyes aren't directly at the edge of your face, you're always going to want to place the eyes a little bit in further. And you can do the same thing here. You make a line right here, make a line right here. And that would set up the guidelines for how far the face would be inwards, or the eyes would be inwards, I'm sorry. And then what I'm showing right here is the inside of your eyes basically match up with the inside of your nose. And then what I'm going to show right here as well is that there's a sort of triangular relationship between your eyes, your nose, and your glabella. That's what this is called, the glabella right here. Okay. A lot of information immediately. And then usually your lips would go to the middle of your eyes. The outer edges of your lips would go to the middle of your eyes. Sometimes it's different, sometimes it's not. For this particular render that this artist made, they made her mouth go to the inside of her pupil right here, right? So already we have a very complex relationship going on, and this comes naturally. So to break it down, 3 quote-unquote equal parts. Set the eyes inward, use a line to set the eyes inside the face correctly. There's a relationship between the eyes and the nose. The width of your nose is the width of your eyes, the inside of your eyes. We have your lips. The ends of each of your lips would typically go to the middle of your eyes. And we have the 3 equal parts, quote unquote. Now let's get to drawing. I also kind of showcase some things that will also help you draw objects, which is I always put them in boxes. So I'm just showcasing here. I drew this hat with a box in a 2-point perspective, and that's how I'm going to tackle the hat, right? So I have the face box right here, and then I have the hat as well. I'm also gonna show, see, I take off the guideline and I put it back in, and you can see how it matches up. I'm also gonna show you a little tip with the eyes and the hair strands. So typically when I do a hair strand, you have to be fast and you have to be smooth with it. You don't want to be really slow in making your hair strands, because it kind of looks like you're indecisive, and you want to be fast, you want to be quick with it, regardless if you're using a pencil, a pen, or a brush, right? And I'm just showcasing you can kind of highlight doing the hair strands in the ends or in the middle. All right, so you want to be quick with your hair strands, you know, you want to, right? You want to go fast, you want to be smooth with it. And I'm also going to showcase the eyes right here. So typically, from what people think of the eyes, it's made up of 3 different parts. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. This one is longer than, is as the first part of the bottom eye is as long as the first 2 parts, and then the third for the top and the second on the bottom connect to make the eyes. And you can change these shapes at any time to create different eye shapes depending on racial characteristics or what type of character you want. Put the eyelid in there. Yep. So this is when I start drawing. I start with the box shape. Usually when I start drawing the face, I just have the reference right here, and then while I'm drawing, I have the reference on my monitor above my drawing tablet. But after I get into the flow of drawing and I kind of understand where everything's generally placed, I erase this and I focus solely on the drawing. So what you got to do when we get to the drawing is you lay out the big shapes first, right? I struggle a lot with the face shape throughout the entire drawing, but that's okay. But I lay out the jawline, put the nose. Once I place the nose, I know how far apart I want my eyes, and we'll fine tune it as the drawing goes on. Yep, got the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 for these eyes. And see, this is the mistake I made. I should have added some sort of guideline. I did put a guideline down here. So this is your eyebrow line. Having just a little ways down where your eyes end also really helps. So you would have like your eyebrows like right here typically, and then you'd place a line right there, just as sort of a guideline, so you don't put your eyes too far down. Make the mouth. It looks horrendous at first, but it all comes together at the end. You know, you gotta trust the process. Eyes are always really hard for me to do at the beginning. So I start with some sort of boxy shape, and then I kind of refine it further. And I fix the hat near the end of the drawing as well. I'm just fixing the nose a little bit. Always adjusting the jawline. I didn't know how big to make the hat. Since a lot of this particular portrait is focused on her face and her hair, I decided to make her hair the highlight of the drawing, as well as her hat. So I kind of focus on the hat, draw a little eye line, the wings of the eyes right there. So I put a lot of effort into the hair and the hat for this particular drawing. And I'll go into that a little bit later on. So, see, you want to be smooth with it. You want to be fast. Even when I'm sketching, I'm trying to be fast. I'm trying to be smooth with it. You know, I'm not going slow. You have to go fast. Making these curves, it looks a lot better when you're not indecisive where you want to place your hair strands. And sometimes you can make a hard edge to your hair strands and then blend it into a smooth rounding curve like this one right here. So you do a rounding curve, do like a straight edge, and then do a rounding curve. Kind of like Dragon Ball Z hairs, like when Goku turns Super Saiyan or something like that. So I'm keeping in mind the level, since the hair is the same level. Basically, I'm keeping in mind down here. And at this point, I see that I went too far. I'm like, okay, I gotta dial the hair back a little. You want to get your mistakes done early, because if the mistakes happen in the end process, then it's going to be harder to fix, which you can see when we get to it. A lot of overlap. That's the key to hairstyles like this, is a lot of overlap, a lot of segmentation. That's how you get that unruly hairstyle. A lot of directions. It goes this way, it goes down here, it goes pointed straight down, it goes this way. Working on the logo. Logo over hat. Add the eye fold right there. Adding a little bit more details. So see, now that I kind of have the gist of what to do, I erase the reference and I look at the reference on a bigger picture, because when you're drawing like this on a canvas, you're not going to get the full details side by side, and you can zoom in. I don't like zooming in. I don't recommend zooming in at all. Or, you know, you want to draw from a larger surface so you don't have to zoom in as much. You want a larger project, right? That was a bad habit I had to break, zooming in a lot. Let's see. I add the ears, add the eyes. Eyes were kind of a struggle for me. Their pupils, I mean. Add some more details. So now that I've gone basically the rough sketch right here, what I do is, if you take a look up here in the layers section, is I duplicate this layer, I lock the duplicate, and then I soft erase the original, and I hide the duplicate. And then I make another layer and draw over my softened layer. So here, see, I make a duplicate. I hide it. And then I soft erase the original. And then just in case I don't draw on the duplicate, I think I forgot to lock it. Just in case I don't draw on the duplicate or the original, I lock them both and I make another layer and I draw on top. And right now, you can't really see it. It's hard to see. I'm just going over the drawing with lighter lines. At this point in the process, you want to be light on your lines, because you don't want to darken them too much. Once you get the base drawing down and you're fixing all the mistakes you've made, then that's when you can add some line weight. So I'm just gonna skip ahead a little, just darkening up the lines a little, fixing the eyes. I don't religiously follow and then I just toggle back and forth, see what's correct, see what's not. I don't religiously follow my sketch. Sometimes I have to go off the beaten path a little. So this is what it looks like when you have your sketch, when I have my sketch, with no line weight, no details, no nothing, right? This is where I start fixing some things that I didn't really like in the original. At the pupils, I shouldn't have really focused on the pupils at all. Yeah, she's a little cross-eyed right here. I don't fix that till much later. But the important thing is, don't focus on, you know, whatever is wrong with it right now. You just want to get that line weight in and fix other stuff of the drawing first. Because if you're struggling on one part of the image, just go to the next, right? You don't want to be stuck on one thing for too long. Well, they tell you that when you take a test, right? Come back if you're having trouble with a question. This is where I start darkening the lines a little bit. This is the problem I had with my early artworks, is I wouldn't darken the lines and I didn't know what line weight was. I knew what line weight was, I just didn't put it in my drawings because I didn't really understand how to utilize it yet. It's already looking better than the base sketch with no line weight. I'm just going through, adding some line weight, fixing some things, erasing some messy pencil marks, adding some hatching to the nose, putting some defining hatches to define the form. And this is where I start just messing with the jawline. Yeah, kind of get it to how I like it. Like I said, for this drawing, I didn't particularly focus on the face. With heavy line weight, I focused on the hair and the hat. Probably they're just on the hat. This is where I kind of fixed the eyes, I believe. Although I didn't really, because this is a different size than that one. That's okay. That's okay. We live with our mistakes. Lower the nostrils. It doesn't really look like her until I add in the shading and all that. So this is where I decided to add the line weight. So like I said, I want to emphasize the hair because it's such a defining characteristic of this portrait, and I want to emphasize the hat. So typically I go in and I just darken the lines up over and over and over again with multiple strokes until I get it as dark as I want. Like I'm doing right here, see? Just darkening the lines up. And I'm trying to keep the energy of the strands of hair, of the motion of the air from the original lines. It gives it a little bit more life when you choose something to prioritize with line weight, whether it's the lighting is up here, down here, or whether there's no lighting at all and you just want to emphasize something. I think I did particularly well in this drawing later on is I've been experimenting more with hatching in showcasing the 3D form of the hatching. So right here, this is where I messed up earlier on in the drawing, and I try to fix it in the quote-unquote finished render, and luckily I did fix it. It looks a little bit wonky, but I do kind of go out of my way to fix it and make it a little bit better. But this is why you fix this stuff and notice it in the sketch phase, because once you are in the render phase, it takes a lot more time to fix it and to make it not look out of place. I noticed her hat was a little bit too small. Maybe it still looks a little bit too small. I can't really tell. Hard to tell when you just stare at the drawing for hours and hours trying to draw it. Fixing the brim. Adding some line weight to the brim. Adding some hatching to the eyebrows. Hatching to the lip. Just some 3D form defining hatching. This is I should have done this in the sketch from the beginning. I forgot to place the band-aid on her cheek. I'll kind of do that. I make the band-aid more in a 3D form, so it follows her 3D form of her face. Something I'm trying to get better at as well with portraits is learning the 3D forms of the face and how I want to tackle them. Some detail in the ears. So here since I don't want to, if I mess up shading on the original image, I make a a separate like layer, and then I shade on top of that, just in case I mess up with shading, it doesn't affect the underlying drawing. And this is where I get the form defining hatching, because I know this is going in a 2D perspective this way. I draw the lines, I hatch it that way. And I do the same thing with this one. Since I'm trying to showcase the 3D forms of the hat, and I know it's a curved surface, I do curved hatching over it, right? It goes left, and then once I go into the middle, I make it straight, and then once I go to the right, I curve it to the right again. It gives these objects 3D form. If I just straight up and down hatched, it wouldn't have looked as good. I do the same thing here. I do diagonal down, and then I do curved lines up here. Do the same thing. Curve them. Do the 3D form. The 3D form. Keep them nice and tight. Keep those lines nice and tight. It's better for your lines to be nice and tight than to be super awkwardly spaced open. And that just comes with practice and a lot of time drawn. I still don't really understand how I'm supposed to do super long lines like these, but I've been getting better at it. Just muscle memory comes with practice. Hatching diagonally and straight and the other diagonal is really easy for me, but curved hatching is not so good for me. Not really good at it. For the hair, I decided to do the same thing. I do curved hatching following the form of the hair. So you see that? Just curving the hatching over and over. It gives it a much better detail. Makes it feel alive, makes the hair feel alive than if I just did straight flat hatching. And then what I do later is I go back and I darken some of these lines to indicate darker hair tones. See? Darker hair tones. I just do it randomly. I don't really have a process like and then I also up here I want to showcase different textures and details or different shading on the hat. So I do hatching across the curved surface. Like I said, 3D form. 3D form. If you want to be good at hatching, you need to learn the 3D forms of objects. Same thing here. I do vertical instead of horizontal hatching. Do it right here as well. Add some details. Add some 3D form hatching to the nose right here. So when it comes to hatching on portraits, hatching is very harsh and very rough. Looking on portraits, it's hatching in general just very rough. Even the best of artists, it can look rough. So you have to be really careful when hatching faces using straight lines and curved lines, etc. You just have to follow the 3D forms. Like the bridge of your nose would be straight, but the sides of your nose are, you know, sloping downwards. So you would have a sloping hatching, right? And you need to take this knowledge and apply that knowledge across the entire face, because you can flat 3D hatch if you're wanting that look, but it far better shows your knowledge of hatching in 3D forms if you follow the form. Since the forehead is relatively flat, I just did a horizontal instead of a vertical. I did vertical for the bridge. And then what I did was I did some curved hatching right here on the sides. I didn't want to indicate the nose too much. So right here is I do curved hatching, right? To showcase the shadows on her face. And it goes well with the darker lines I put that define the cell shaded hairstyle, or not hairstyle, art style. I'm sorry. What else do I do here? Nothing. Oh, I add a little, not eye bags, but lines underneath her eyes. And I add her neck. And I also used curved hatching on her neck. Left, 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 straight, 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 right, right, right. And that basically is how I tackle portraits from a front view. Oh, it just restarted. You can see here I started from barely anything. This was the base sketch. This was... Well, that was the start of the base sketch. This is the base sketch. And you add line art. And little by little, you can see the detail come. You can't really notice the 3D forms like I do in my head. You have to notice them yourselves. And I try to indicate these types of things in my drawings using hatching, right? Just keep those rules in mind, right? That I showcased earlier, right? Right here. Quote unquote 3 equal parts depending on the reference image you're drawing. 1, 2, 3. Make some space for the eyes using this eye guideline. Draw an eye guideline where your eyebrow is and where your under your eyes are, so you know where to place the eyes perfectly. Inside of your eyes, the width of your nose determines the inside of your eyes. The outside of your lips determines where the middle of your eyes are. I'm not a professional to go in depth on skull anatomy or head anatomy or the forms of 3D heads. I'm not really good at explaining things. I'd rather showcase them through my drawing. There's a lot you can learn through just watching someone draw rather than watching a 5-hour tutorial on how they do something, right? So hopefully me explaining this process will help you understand how I draw and what I choose to prioritize when drawing a portrait, and how I achieve 3D forms using hatching and shading and things like that. Anyways, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I hope this tutorial has helped you. This tutorial ran a little bit long, 30 minutes, but I believe it has a lot of information that I want to showcase to people who want to learn. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I hope you all have a supercalifragilistic expialidocious day. Thank you.